You ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable. My name is Robert Bannon. You're listening to us on the Broadway Podcast Network or watching us on Broadway World or over here on YouTube or social media. I believe our next guest, if I'm lying, she will tell us, maybe is Kate Hamill the most produced playwright or seen playwright? Or I hope she's the richest playwright in America. That's what I hope. And I hope no, she's here. She's got really important stuff. She's got shows from Harvard to new primary stages to all around this country. And people have really connected. She's an actor who I think took a bet for $100 and became a playwright. And now she's the most produced Let's bring her out here. Kate, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to see you.
Is this true? Am I lying about you, or are you the most produced playwright?
Yes, I am the most produced playwright in the country this year, tied with Rajiv Joseph, who's an amazing playwright. So I'm tied for number one.
How do you find this out? Who tells you that?
American Theater Magazine does like a tally every year, and they discount Shakespeare because Shakespeare would definitely beat us every year. But yeah.
Okay, so tell us about your path, because I think it is true. I read that you were bet $100 to write a play.
Yes, that's true.
And you wrote a play, and not only did you write a play, and I hope get $100, but you also got that play produced.
Yeah. My dear friend Andrus Nichols, who I met in an acting class, because I started out as just an actor, not to say just an actor, but I started out solely as an actor, was starting a theater company. And I went out with her one night and, we split a couple of bottles of wine, which is not the best. I don't recommend that for making your career decisions, but I wrote her a check. I was frustrated with the dearth. I've always been a feminist. I was a feminist before I was even into theater, and I got into theater quite young. And I was really frustrated by the dearth of what I saw as like feminist, female gaze new stories at that time. And especially I loved the classics, so I wanted to create like new feminist classics. And that night, under the influence of a bunch of glasses of wine, I wrote her a check for $100 that I could write a new feminist classic. And she'll hold me to it, Andrus Nichols. So I wrote her that check, and then I had 6 months to write my first play, and that was in 2013-ish, and that was Sense and Sensibility, which was my first play, and I started out, that was my first full-length one. Yes.
And it's kind of been a rocket ship since that. You never set out to be a playwright.
No, it's been a bit of a surprise. I did not start out, yeah.
But you do act in a lot of your pieces as well. So you get to do both. I know right now you're getting to do both.
Yes, I sort of split my time. I do other people's work as well as an actor, which is always a bit of a relief to just, you're like, oh, this is just one thing to do. But I split my time and do both at this point.
So before we talk about the project going on in primary stages, what piece of your work is done the most? What are people like? Maybe we don't know it's you, Kate, but we've seen it done in a theater near our house.
I think my most produced play is my adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, which was like a farce about how you know if you met the right person.
So has this become one of your trademark things? Is you take classics and you kind of do your own Kate Hamill thing to them?
Yes, I kind of come at classics with a new play lens. So I treat it as a collaboration between myself and an author who is currently dead. And I will only do things that are feminist, female-centered, and also that are trying to put socially relevant and putting a new spin on whatever I'm making, and that have resonance, both the people who know the original and who have no relationship to the original. And I write new plays as well.
That's like this coming next year. We're talking about like
That's
that.
right. Yes, the Odyssey. That's Shauna Cooper below me who's directing it.
So that's at A.R.T. up in
Yes.
the fancy too smart for my blood, Kate. Go get them, Tiger. And no, not true. And then we're here to talk about primary. I love primary stages. I think what they do there, their mission is important. Original works of art is important. Women-centered work is important, and the stories told are so important. So tell us a little bit about. We're here to talk about The Light in the Dark, and it is running from November 2nd all the way to December 15th.
Yeah.
And how did this idea come to you? And tell us.
Well, this play is really the play that kept me in the American theater. It's kind of a complicated backstory, but basically, something like 5-6 years ago, I started out as a feminist before I was even in theater. And I found out that a collaborator of mine had some really disturbing history with women, and a Me Too history, and I stopped working with that person. But I was really upset by it, and I started working on anti-harassment work and anti-abuse work, especially within the unions, because unions are workers' rights organizations, and that is part of workers' rights, is to a safe and equitable workplace. And as part of that work, I started hearing stories from people who had reported harassment or abuse in the theater industry, and how often they were survivors of this stuff, were failed by institutions, by individuals. Theater is a business that's very small. It is easy to retaliate against people. And sometimes, some institutions do the right thing, right? Some individuals do the right things, but sometimes people would report and it wouldn't matter. The institution would cover it up or continue to hire the guy or whatever. And I was heartbroken over it. Honestly, I, like many other people, got into this business because it felt like a safe space of individuals who wanted to do the right things and tell the right stories. And I really was like, I'm a feminist artist and maybe I can't do this anymore. Maybe it's just breaking my heart too much. And I mean, it's a bit of a hollow threat because I have no other life skills. Like, what else was I going to do? But in 2022, I went on like a belated honeymoon with my husband in Italy. And I walked into the Uffizi Gallery and I saw this huge painting by the most famous female Renaissance artist of her time, who's having a bit of a renaissance of her own right now, Artemisia Gentileschi. And I knew a little bit of her story, but not a ton. And so I will talk more about her paintings and about who she was as a person. But this painting, Judith Beheading Holofernes, she painted herself as a self-portrait of herself beheading her own abuser, her own rapist. She painted the face of her rapist, and she painted herself beheading him. And I swear to you, I felt the motes of dust that were this woman reach through me to the centuries and go, snap out of it. You have a voice, you have a privilege, you get louder, you speak the truth, and you do this because it is important that we as artists speak the truth about what is happening and that we fight for what is right in the world. And I stood in front of this painting, like crying for like 20 minutes. My husband was like, "Are you okay?" And then I ordered like 16 books on her, took a painting class in classical painting techniques for painting the nude, basically, and wrote this play. And that is how it started. She had an incredible life. The play is really based on the beats of her life. And she was sort of undervalued and almost forgotten for centuries because they credited a lot of work to her father, Orazio Gentileschi, who's also in the play. They didn't believe that a woman artist could do work like this. And she did these powerful portraits of female rage. And this is the play about her life and also the trauma she went through and how she transcended that trauma to make this art.
Whoa. Wow. What a primarysstages.org is where you can get your tickets.
Yes.
Whoa. I saw the painting. I mean, you see the painting it's covering it up by the, but you see the painting or a style of the painting. And and when I was reading about what you had said about it and how relevant it is to today and how timely, you're talking about hundreds of years ago, it's as timely as ever. I thought about the role of an artist, the role of art being a form of activism and history, documenting history for the future, and how important it is. But I have to say, Kate, it must feel exhausting because is it exhausting? Period.
To play her?
To fight this, you fight a fight that, and you see things like the past weeks, and we elect rapists to the White House again.
Yes, a rapist has just been given legislative control over tens of millions of bodies, and I can like women and girls and female body autonomy is also huge right now, and a lot of this is about the power of women's bodies and what it feels like to have that gaze and that power taken away from you. But also lots of men are survivors as well, and lots of people who do not fit in the binary. So I also want to say, like, could we be shown the power of rape culture and the patriarchy more than we are now? No. I don't think it's more exhausting for me than it is for anyone who's a survivor of any trauma. I think it is more exhausting for me to not tell the truth than to tell the truth. And it's like, this play is for survivors of all kinds, and it is more exhausting to me to pretend this stuff isn't happening, especially when we see the consequences of it. The same structures that literally put Artemisia Gentileschi on trial for her own rape all still exist today. And people sometimes see the play and say, like, what did you make up? And I'm like, practically nothing. The transcripts of her trial, unusually, we have them, and we have her own letters, and the vast majority of the trial in the play is verbatim what happened in her trial, with like a little, I'm tweaking it for dramatic structure, but it's like the text of her trial, and the text of her assault, she describes her own assault, is what she said about her own assault during her trial. And it could all happen today, and it actually feels invigorating at the end of the show to channel it. And there's a sort of call to the audience, to which they often vocally respond to. It feels good for us to all like get louder in our truths, and to feel a sort of like rage, resistance, and resolution to get louder and more truthful, as opposed to, stifling everything and pretending it's not happening, which is painful.
This has to be, wow. You got to get your tickets, because we're talking we're here talking about The Light and the Darkness. It's till December 15th. So you got like 6 weeks to make sure less than that now.
And so we cannot extend. We absolutely may not extend. My schedule is prohibitive. So
it's booked, everybody. She's got other things to do. She will be off that stage. So you write your words. And a lot of times we have a lot of playwrights and writers on the show, and I say, is it hard when you release your words into the world and other people interpret them and put actions to them? You release them to a director and a different creative team that you're a part of, but there's other ideas. But you're in this.
Yeah.
So you recite your words, but there is a director who you work with, who is then giving you direction, but you wrote the words. So it's such a unique experience. So how does it work for people watching who are artists out here? How does your collaborations work with a creative team where you star and wrote the piece?
Well, it was really important. I've been in some of my own work before. It was important for me to do it on this piece, because I did feel like it's important to be really vulnerable, and it's important for me to put my body on the line in this piece, like, because she actually put her body on the line in this piece. She did a lot of self-portraits, including one like scandalous naked one, and I was like, I literally, spoiler alert, stripped naked in this show, and but it was important for me to be vulnerable in that way, because I felt like that is really putting quote unquote skin in the game, if you will. So I knew, probably, like, when the universe calls you that much, I feel like you have to answer it. And it's just been really the thing I love about theater, and something that keeps me doing it, as opposed to like writing novels where it's just you and your computer, as far as I can tell, is you do want to have like a really smart collaborative group of people and have the best idea win in the room, because otherwise it's not going to be the sort of community catharsis that you need to be. And we have like, you know, a lovely cast. They're all super amazing actors and generous. We've got lovely creative team and director. And this is like very loaded material. And we were making it at a loaded time. I mean, again, it's been the election, and that did not go the way we wanted it to say the least. So I'm just very proud of how, and I know it was important to Jade King Carroll, our director as well, to really honor a survivor story, and it was important to everyone in the room to not create a play that's like, you know, telegraphing an assault is coming. It was important to us to say, like, anyone who's experienced trauma in this world, you're just a person. You're a person like everyone else. You have hopes and fears, and you're happy and you're sad. And in fact, we kind of wanted to, I think, in a good production of Romeo and Juliet, like, you root for them. And in a great production of Romeo and Juliet, you forget they're going to die. We're kind of trying to create a play where you see her, you know, accomplish things, and she's actually kind of winning for a while, and and like she's frustrated, but things are going well, and then something comes out of nowhere and rocks her, and she can't pretend she's the same person afterwards. But it was very important to everyone in the room that we do this story the right way, and I was super grateful for everyone's commitment to the project, and also willingness to go to some like very difficult, vulnerable places. It's very vulnerable work, and it was, it's a lovely group.
Oh, I hope people get your tickets, everybody. Go get your tickets. This is your third show at Primary Stages, so you must enjoy being there.
Yeah, Primary is such a, talk about lovely groups of people, just some of like the nicest people. And also they're really dedicated to new plays, new voices. They are at a time when I fear a lot of places are sort of like running back to things that feel safer, because it is hard economic times and theaters understandably have to sell tickets. Primary is like, their mission is about new plays, new work, pushing the boundaries of those things. And that is like part of why I come back again and again, because they are really dedicated to not only that, but actually also long-term development of artists. So they're also willing to take chances not only on new voices, but also on new stories and new kinds of things from established voices.
We love them. I love their work. I love their space. We love them. And we are here excited for this show as well. I was thinking while you were talking about being in a play with the playwright, and I would be like, oh my gosh, as an actor, I'd be so nervous. I have to be word perfect. She wrote them all down. She's gonna, so.
I say to the actors the first day, because sometimes, like, I think I've been in something like 10 of my own shows. I don't remember. It's been a bunch at this time. But I always say the actors the first day, because there is always a little bit of, and trepidation about like, oh, I messed that up. And I'm like, I guarantee to you, if you messed up a word and I'm looking at you like this, I'm thinking what my line is, like I guarantee I'm not keeping track of it in that way. But also it's, I sort of bifurcate my personality. So I think of it as like Dana and Zool, from Ghostbusters. Like at some point there is no Dana, there is only Zool. So we have now, once we open the show, there is no Dana, there is no playwright, there is only Zool. And Zool's the actor, so she's the crazier one. And that's how I think of it. And I encourage people to be like, who do you want to talk to? Do you want to talk to the playwright? Do you want to talk to the actor?
I love that. And I love Zool and the refrigerator or Sigourney Weaver. Come on. Yeah. So you must be close. We must be of the same.
Oh, you froze.
So my
I'm question. Sorry, you temporarily froze.
No, we both froze. We're frozen, but we're back. Your work, how you write and your style. There's a lot of people who I teach musical theater and a lot of aspiring writers want to come in and talk to me about, and they write songs, they write scenes, etc., poetry. So what do you do as a discipline to write? Are you disciplined? Is it as it comes? What do you do?
set deadlines, promise them unrealistically to people, and then panic. No, I have weaponized like my sort of historical people pleasing in that I really hate letting other people down. So I tend to set a deadline, tell a bunch of people about it, and then that gets me to it. In a sort of previous life, I used to do copywriting as a day job, which, by the way, talk about boring things to do. It was very boring, but it was helpful because I did something. I would like built-in breaks for myself. So I would be like, okay, for 45 minutes, I'm gonna work, and then I'm gonna take a 15-minute break. And it doesn't matter if I just stare at a blank screen for 45 minutes. I'm going to do that, and odds are you will do something in 45 minutes, and sometimes you get on a sort of tear. But I also really encourage people who want to be writers or writers. I think the thing that hurts most people who want to be writers is judging it before you are done with it. So I'm just like, just your first couple of drafts, it's just going to be bad. Like, and everything, half the time when I write something and I'm like, this is the worst part of this and no one will ever see it. And I'm just sort of doing it because I can't judge it right now. That is the thing that ends up being like the most special and unique. So no one else can channel what you can channel. No one else can do what you can do or express what you need to express. So you just do you and don't judge it. And there will be time for editing and rewriting. But at first, just trust, like, don't try to be anyone else. Don't try to like please anyone else. Just channel what feels good and interesting and true to you. And if you make something good and interesting true to you, probably that's going to be what's most authentic, and you'll find people who will be interested in it. Because there's people like, there are going to be people who don't like you no matter what you do, but you might as well like channel what feels really right.
I think that's great advice. I love that. That part doesn't scare me. I've never written a thing. I've written a check back in the day, but but what scares me is the editing and re-editing, because I'm like thinking to myself, how many times have you read your play? How many times have you analyzed and agonized over words and sentences and structure and dedication, Kate? So
that's the hard part. That's hard. It can be hard, but it's just like, you just do it one bite at a time, basically. Yeah.
That's it. So you're a playwright, you're an artist, you're an activist with your work, you're a feminist with your life and your mission. So with these days, there's so many people who are very unhappy or and upset, as they should be, scared. And all of those things, as we all should be. So what, I don't want to say silver lining, but what is the hope? What do you do to keep putting a show on stage, to keep writing when it feels like we get knocked back, or we've come far and we get hit back a bunch of steps? What can you surmise is something that we can march forward, look forward to, or keep the fighting?
Well, I don't mean to be Pollyanna-ish about it, because it is scary times. I mean, we should be scared, I think, and I think we should be honest about that. But something I was thinking of to myself recently is, during this play, she was making art when this guy Clement VIII was Pope, and he was burning people alive, torturing them on the rack for saying things like the planet circled the sun. I mean, and they like would whip women through the streets for being assault victims. There was, like, people have lived through dangerous times and scary times before, and they have made art that we are still talking about, and we are not talking about Clement VIII, So I think this is a time for artists and activists and people in our communities to get louder, to get bolder. After every time of social change, the pandemic was a big social change for all of us. There's always going to be a revolution and a counter-revolution. So now we're seeing in the play, it says, the old world pulls us backwards as strongly as the new world pushes us forward. We are seeing like this sort of, hopefully, last gasp of the patriarchy, of the binary, of this like of white supremacy. I am hopeful, but that means that we have to keep fighting, or the sort of like retrograde pulling us backwards is going to win, and we should not go back. We cannot go back. Even, when I was a kid, like how much progress we've made, gay marriage, like talking about abortion openly, talking about women's bodies, the way we talk about Me Too, Black Lives Matter, we have made progress, and there was going to be a counter revolution, and we're in it right now. And even though we are all like numb and in a state of shock and horror, we got to get louder and get stronger. And as the character says in this play, pick up the fucking brush and paint. Sorry to swear.
You can curse all you want.
But like it's what I'm trying to tell myself now is like, I am in a place of privilege. I do have a voice. Our ancestors worked, and our activist ancestors worked to get us here. So now is time for our fight again, and it's okay. We need time to grieve and regroup and connect with our communities, but like we have to get louder and fight for the world that we want.
Well, you're doing that. Everyone out there better be doing that. I know we're doing that here, and what you're doing will be one day. This footnote of this time there will be some piece of art and some play on some stage or some television, movie, music, etc., art in general, that is going to reflect the times that we're living in. And I give so much credit to artists, because when I went to acting school, my acting teacher would say that the history is literally depicted through art. Art is what shows us. It's not a textbook. It's the art that comes out of those times that show us the time. So what you're doing will be seen by many generations as we fight this fight together. So thank you.
Well, you never know. What we can hope is that we have some impact that has some impact that has some impact. And, we don't have to finish the fight, but we have to contribute as much as we can. So
amen to that. Or a woman, a something. Primarystages.org is where you can get your tickets, and you can get your tickets. The show is running until the 15th. The show is called The Light in the Dark. And then if you're, up in New England and you want to check out the Odyssey's coming in hot and fast for next year, February 9th to March 15th. And I'm sure you have other tricks up your sleeves that will have to be. Can we follow you on social media?
Yes, you can totally follow me on social media. I'm on all the platforms.
All the things. Right.
I'm trying to get off Twitter for obvious reasons, but
I'm with you. Done. We did it.
We did it.
Thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to. We'll have all the links below. So if you're watching us right now and you want to find or look below, and we're honored to have you here. And congratulations.
Oh, no, please. Thank you so much.